The following vodcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this vodcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Hello and welcome to day 2 of the championships here on So We Think. Epic day 1 at Royal Randwick last Saturday. Ben Way, what did you enjoy the most?
The filly winning the Derby by a million miles. And we have a special guest coming up, Jason Collett. We can talk to him about Aliana, but more importantly, talk to him about Steffi Magnetica, who was fantastic there on the weekend. I always look forward to the Doncaster, and I assumed that the Doncaster would be my highlight from the day. It wasn't.
Yeah.
She was just too good. And I won't play the tiny little violin for too long, but Star Thoroughbreds had a rough time of it because Aliana lost by a pimple behind broadsiding. And then on the Wednesday, they lost by a pimple in a race there when we were on track on the
And don't forget her in the 1,000 Guineas as well.
And so things just hadn't quite gone to plan. I was really happy for Denise and I guess more importantly, the ownership involved to get a success there was good.
I love her. She's just one of my favourite people in racing.
She's colourful.
Yeah, and she's got such a positive vibe about her, and she's just in there and she loves it. And she's
passionate.
Always, yes.
Can't question her passion.
And you know what? That's all you can hope to be in life. It's passionate about something.
What was your highlight, Em?
Oh, that was definitely one of them. Steffi Magnetica winning the Doncaster was very impressive. Briasa, the emotion from Michael Hawkes was extraordinary, and Tyler Schiller obviously finding his pin-up horse for the next little while as well. He will get an Everest slot in due course. But Aliana, I think the way that she put the sword to the rest of the field in that derby as the sole filly, and she's not a big filly. She's quite light. She's quite little. She's not, a big robust thing. Was really, really cool. Weather was beautiful. Had a great day on course. Really enjoyed myself.
I've had a little bit of a rough week. The little man, Tedalicious, 7.5 months old. He's had his first cold.
Mate, welcome.
So any hints? I think Dad's catching it. But I think any hints would be lovely. We've tried Vicks, yeah. Put it into the aroma thing. It's not working.
Mate, it's just a cold. He's just got to get over it.
It's impacting my sleep.
Well, it's the way it is, mate. Welcome to being a parent. Wait till they get my son had a broken arm last year. Try when he breaks a leg or an arm, he's lying there at night.
Don't you wish injuries upon my son?
Oh, we've had busted open eyebrows. We've had adenoids taken out. My first one, the second one was all reflux, mate. You got it all right.
Joy out of me having all of that still to come. Do you think, I've done a lot of hard yards now and look at Ben?
No, I just think it's the way it is. It is the way it is. They're all going to get sick. They're all going to get little afflictions, and you're just going to have to deal with it.
You know the worst part? It's just so hard seeing him.
Sad.
Yeah. I'm almost seeing him sad for the first time. Maybe I'm lucky to get him to 7 and a bit months without seeing him.
You are very lucky.
It has been a week in the house, but the racing is so exciting for the weekend. I'm stacked to see all of the Group 1s. I'm stoked to chat to Tim, our chief trader, who, of course, will have a few favourites that he's taking on through the day. And there is some discussion that this will be a bloodbath of epic proportions from Tab's side of things. So if you're invested in Tab, like I am as an employee, it's a nervous watch.
So Jason Collett, Tim Ryan to come on and talk about the potential bloodbath. Plus we'll go through all 4 Group 1s and also discuss very shortly about the structure of the championships races and how they all add up to the Nathan Berry Medal for the best performed hoop over the 2-day carnival. We addressed it last year and it's still not solved.
I thought it would be solved.
It's not solved, but we want to try and solve world problems on the show. One thing that has been solved, actually, that was not in the rundown. You see those weights in the Caulfield Cup and the Melbourne Cup have been up the kilo?
Yes, I have.
I mean, that was a bugbear of ours last year, and I won't say that that's solely off the back of a chat that we had. But they did listen to at least a few people in the game to say, you know what, we need to go up a kilo and have a minimum top weight and a minimum bottom weight.
We had a couple of wins, actually. We also said with the Rose Hill vote, let's just
stay of proceedings.
Let's just pause. We need a little bit more information before we can vote accordingly. And what did they do a day later? Again, I'm not suggesting it was off the back of listening to the podcast, but it is nice to have a win.
What else do we want to throw out there to potentially change?
I think there should be a stand-down policy for scratchings.
Let's welcome in our first guest. He was one of the men of day one. I speak of Jason Collett, and he got his 8th Group 1 winner on the weekend in the Doncaster on board Steffi Magnetica, and the Doncaster often considered the unofficial 5th major. First for Jace. Congratulations, mate. What a special day for you.
Yeah, hey Emma. Yeah, it was very special. As you remember from the post race, I was quite taken by it.
They were remarkable scenes. Now, you're never going to have a Bjorn Baker Group 1, particularly the Doncaster, as he calls it, a race of that sort of ilk and nature.
My dad calls it the Doncaster as well.
Is that
he's not a Kiwi.
Interesting.
Maybe it's the vintage.
Yeah, maybe it is the vintage. Yeah, although that feels very unfair on Bjorn, without throwing too much shade in your dad's direction. But, I mean, I wasn't surprised by the theatre of it all. I was surprised by the embrace and the tightness of the embrace. When you saw Bjorn, and you guys have had a long history, how did it feel emotionally for you to sort of tick that moment off and do that together?
Yeah, it was, I think more so, obviously, it was quite hard to process it also at the time. It was all just happening so quick, but I suppose when I got home, I was able to watch the post-race interviews and then sort of just could sort of really feel the input, like Bjorn and, how he felt and the emotion he showed, especially when you ask him some of the tougher questions there. And it's pretty awesome, yeah.
I think what Ben's dwelling on, though, is when, I chatted to Bjorn and he was, the hay fever and was the crying. But then when he got down to you, like it's almost assault what happened.
Yeah.
Like he grabbed you in such an embrace, Jace, that you could tell by the look on your face that you were like, I know you're hugging me, but what the hell's going on here? Because this seems extreme. At that point in time when he's trying to lift you up, but you're going, which way do I go?
He's a big man.
Talk us through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big man. I got to hug my sister first, so that was pretty cool. But when he threw me up, and then he went for the second grab and really hoisted me up onto the shoulders, I was like, last time this was in a club and I got kicked out. I know that, so it didn't end well anyway.
Yeah, it was very exciting. So you speak of your sister. They are remarkable times within your family to have so many people involved at the top end. Tell me about that embrace, and I'm sure that it meant a lot. And we could have another amazing moment on Saturday with both of you in the same Group 1 at one point. But honestly, it must be amazing to be able to share those moments with your family so quickly.
Yeah, it is. It is, and we're a close family, so that's where I suppose it means so much. My parents actually weren't there, and neither was Claire actually, and the kids. They've been there the last few times actually. So, but just having a family member there like that, it's and especially when you're weighing in the scales, and once it becomes official like that, it's sort of then the first person you see then, it's just straight for them.
Let's touch on Steffi though, and I love that you were so honest post race because she is a horse, and I'm sure that a few connections weren't stoked with that, but you got to call a spade a spade. She doesn't look great in the yard.
Everyone's of the same opinion.
I told the story last week, Jace, that the start prior, I was standing at Rosehill Gardens and I was watching them all in the yard, and I looked at her and I literally went like this, like looked around, and then a friend of all of ours came up to me behind me and said, I reckon you've just spotted Steffi. And I went, yes, what is going on? Because she just doesn't present well. She looks woolly. She looks a little rough, but she's got this heart of gold and this engine to boot. She just can overcome all of those superficial looks.
Yeah, looks obviously don't mean a thing with her anyway. Joe from Kira Mars actually said the exact same thing when he watched her come into the yard in the George Rider.
Yeah.
And he said, like, Bjorn's always looked great. He's a very good conditioner, I suppose. And just his horses always turn out good, as you'd expect top trainers for them to do. But it just works how they don't worry about how she looks, She's performed like looking like this before, I think, up in Queensland, which you'd expect it at that time of year, coming from a colder climate going up there. But yeah, not in the coming off of summer.
Yeah.
If you don't have a excuse me, if you don't have a strict allegiance to a particular stable, a freelance, if you will, the movement is probably more severe on horses than other jockeys who maybe have that alignment and maybe get forgiven on the odd occasion. Tell me about the trials and tribulations of being a jockey like yourself. You've jumped onto Steffi at the right time because circumstances have led you to that. Whereas Aliana, you've come off at exactly the wrong time and then probably had to watch her waltz away to win a derby in what was one of the most remarkable derbies we've ever seen. So just tell me about the emotions of last Saturday and how you balance that going forward if you don't have a strict stable allegiance.
Yeah, highs and lows of racing. And obviously how you process it all and I suppose cope with it is how it's, if you don't cope with it well enough, or I'm not saying you have to have a thick skin, but you sort of do it in a way because you take it too much to heart, then you just let it affect you on the day. And it happened. I got to look forward, not back. I can't worry about losing the ride on her, which was obviously disappointing. But I just had to focus on what I had going forward, which was like Steffi, and even prior to that, I had 2 good rides earlier, which I had the favourite in the country race, Gallant Star, who didn't perform probably as best I thought he would. So again, that was a bit of a downer. But then state visit when awfully close, which I was so happy with, and that put me in a good frame of mind going forward. And then obviously when Steffi produced that was outstanding. So it obviously softened the blow when I was sat there watching the derby and watched her win in a hand canter, which I think you or Emma could have ridden as well. And
Not
she,
sure about that.
I know she couldn't have carried. She's good, but she couldn't have carried me.
Yeah.
Just one last one on her. Did you think she would go out and do that? I mean, a lot thought she was very good, but did you anticipate off the run prior where she was just so close to beating broadsiding that she would then come out and waltz in against the boys like that?
No, not to that. By that margin anyway. But how the race was run, she was in the right spot. The slow run race. She had the best turn of foot. Did it surprise me? No. But she's obviously, the distance is what she's been crying out for, and as you said earlier, it's unfortunate to jump on Steffi at the right time, and get taken off her at the wrong time.
I find the Circle of Fire run or race quite interesting this Saturday. A horse that waltzed in the Sydney Cup last year. Jace is on board here. A horse that probably didn't quite reach the heights we expected through the spring.
He ran really well in a Melbourne Cup, but he takes a few runs.
That's it's almost like the downess has meant that he's got to be sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 runs into a preparation.
Let's be honest, there's quite a few in that Sydney Cup are probably of the same
I know, but he ticks
caliber.
He ticks a very crucial box.
He gets the 32.
Eats 3,200 up.
Yeah.
And how many times in a Sydney Cup do you go for that horse that's sort of in form and proven at 24, going to 32 for the first time? Whereas you must be going into the Sydney Cup, Jace, thinking, well, I know exactly what I've got under the bonnet here. If this is a true staying test, I have a live chance.
Yeah, really happy with Fire going into the Cup. Every run this prep's been great, albeit, they're not the results. Obviously, running 1, 2, 3, he's improved every time. And like you said, his form going into the Melbourne Cup was awful.
It really was. You're absolutely right, it was.
Yeah. And he looked awful too, Kieran felt. And he comes out and produces over, and as he alluded to, the Sydney Cup one where he was wide no cover, and he did it easily. So, yeah, pretty happy with him going.
He's a funny one. Eve, I remember those trials even of the spring, and you're going, hello, what do we got here?
Yeah.
And then once he gets the 2 mile, you go, okay, that's the only time it matters for him.
Yeah, he's a little bit forgotten, I think.
Yeah.
The market side of things.
You know who's not going to be forgotten? We've touched on her a lot, Jace, is Steffi Magnetica on the quick backup in the Queen of the Turf. Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that she will handle the quick backup. Yes, she's up against some elite company, the likes of Fangirl. I think she's, $1.85 at the moment. She's going to be hard to beat. But you're booked on her and the Queen Elizabeth, so you'll be hoping that she goes to that race. Like it's a bit of here, there, and everywhere for you. But Steffi on the quick backup, she's going to be hard to beat again because she's really fit.
Exactly, she's a mirror in form. I think she did the backup last preparation. It even involved a trip down to Melbourne and Mr. Brightside, so she might. I think she finished just in behind Fangirl, so obviously this backup's going to be probably easier on her, really.
Yeah, no travel.
No travel, so she's drawn favourably. She'll be ahead of Fangirl on the run. She's going to have to run me down.
That's an interesting one, actually. So you're booked on Fangirl and the QE, and then she's the short price favourite in the Queen of the Turf. Like, when you get booked for Fangirl in the Queen Elizabeth, like on board her, are you sitting there going, oh, well, I know she's going to run in the other race? Is that how it kind of works in your mind, or are you just forever hopeful until they scratch from, like, we think it's going to be the Queen Elizabeth?
I do, yeah.
That you go, well, I'm in with a chance here? How does it work in your mind?
No, not really. I what works. I saw where she drew too, so
yeah. Okay.
So you're just reading the room from.
Yeah.
Within the Law is another. So we all saw those. We were a little bit worried for you. I'm not going to lie. We saw the horse running inside the inside running rail. You being treated there by the ambulance. It was not a good scene especially on such a big day. I'm sure another scary moment in the saddle for you, but you must be excited to get back on and maybe atone for a missed opportunity there.
Yeah, how the race panned out, I think it was a huge opportunity miss. Unfortunately, I think she would have run sort of top 4 or 5 easily. Just how we had a plan and how it played out. But nevertheless, she's trialled good the other day. Probably trialled the best actually, because she's never won to show much in the trial, never in a gallop. So yeah, she jumped good, and she's got a good barrier too today. So far back has been in her last 2 starts, which is, where you got your favourite team going wide who'll have to go back. So look, it's pretty happy with her going forward too.
All right, to finish with Jace, apart from Steffi, who we're excited about seeing again, your best for the weekend. Can you push us into one at odds?
Look, I haven't had a good look yet. I'll wait till closer to the race time to have a thorough look at the races, just the weather and roughly scratchings will probably do. But hard to go past Steffi. She's coming off a career best win and in a race which suits her.
You just get the impression with Jace that he just needed the floodgates to open with the Group 1s, didn't he?
I feel like the last couple of years we've started to.
It was the whole, geez, when's he going to get one? When's he going to get one? And now.
A few rides, wasn't it, buddy?
Now you look down and you're like, where did the 8?
Hey, Lizzie.
I know, she brings it up a lot, doesn't she?
What's that?
How many rides it took him to get the Group 1 victory in Group 1 races?
Oh, we can highlight how many he's on now.
Yeah, well, you won, eh? And you raised the bat, 50 wins for the season on Steffi. So, I mean, let's just forget about the in excess of 100 Group 1 rides.
Yeah, but you need this. Okay, let's. Now that we've highlighted it, we might as well talk about it very quickly. Were there any in the 100 where you thought, geez, I stuffed that up? Because
surely, I think everyone would have those.
Right. Like, is there a glaring one, Jace? Or because I'm just thinking maybe he might have had 100 no hopers in those Group 1s.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I did write a lot of Wallace stays early on in their preparations, which probably added. But look, it probably put me to where I am now, though. Like, I had to go through that pressure of not achieving it at so many attempts, and it's a mental game that where got to look beyond that and just follow the process really. And yeah, it's working now.
Can I one last one? Jason, well, I was supposed to wrap this up minutes ago, but that's fine. Do you can say, Ben, that is ridiculous. No, you're wrong. It's a baseless premise. Do you think you're a better jockey since you became a dad? Because it might be just coincidence, but I feel like you have been. You almost returned with this. I don't know. It's not reckless abandon, but maybe just priorities in life shifted, and you just seem better at it.
Yeah, definitely a bit more grown up. Yeah, and you're probably right. The priorities change where previous was just probably didn't hold racing as high, and like that may have reflected in why it took 100 to 102 to win a Group 1. That just wasn't really completely focused on it. Whereas now, bit older, wiser, and yeah, it's definitely helping.
He's got little mouths to feed.
Yeah, well, that does play a part.
You got to earn your dollar, don't you, mate? Hey, good luck on the weekend. Congratulations on the weekend just been. And you are currently tied for the Nathan Berry medal as well. So
Yes.
that would be a special honour if you were to... Yeah, with Tyler. So a few more wins.
What would that mean, Jace?
It's pretty awesome. I didn't realise until yesterday. And it came up, I think, on like a social media, like on Facebook, and obviously I know of the medal. So nice to get a head start on James, who's got a good book Saturday. Obviously Damien Lane too, but I've got a few good chances where I think I can not win, definitely pick up points, which might be enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can run second and third, and you're still picking up points, just like a jockey's challenge.
We'll talk about the points.
Criteria
once we say goodbye to Jason.
We'll say goodbye to Jason, then we can vent on that. We'll see you on Saturday, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, too easy, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
Jason Collett there joining us. So 8 Group 1s next to his name. And we may as well just quickly speak about the points races for the championships for the Nathan Berry medal, because I think we touched on it last year. But I did have a feeling that some groundswell might have been developing to change this, because it beggars belief what races count and what don't.
If you were to ask just a typical racing participant, they would assume all races do count.
All 20.
They would assume that.
It's not the case.
And quite rightly. And no, it is not. And you would also assume then, if it's not all races, that it would be all listed in group races or all group races. But it isn't that either.
No. So last Saturday, day 1 of the championships, it's the 4 Group 1s plus the country championships final. So 5. I understand, including the country championships final is nice.
Nice touch.
Nice touch. This weekend, you got the 4 Group 1s, you got the provincial midway final, and you got 2 Group 2s, but not the other Group 2.
Yeah. So riddle me that.
I don't know.
So going forward, I mean, I don't even know why we have to say this, but what's the solution, Emma?
All races.
Obviously.
All races. And for this argument of, we've gone to 10 races on the card and races might change, doesn't matter. You came up with a great theory. With Brownlow.
Exactly. So with the Brownlow, it's all well and good to say, right, well, Patrick Cripps had 473 votes this year, right, compared to previous years, and that's a record. But there are more games being played than there ever was.
Yeah. And
the comparison just isn't the same. There's also more data analytics. We've had years where the umpires were given stats. There's been so many variables, along the way. I don't think historically anyone's going to go, you won the Nathan Berry medal with 16 points, but that was when there were more or less. They don't care.
It's the best jockey over the 2 days of the championships, and to make that a level playing ground, you need to include every race.
I would accept, just to overcomplicate it, I would accept if the Group 1s were worth more points. If it was a 5-4-3-2-1 and we dropped every other race to a 3-2-1, I'm fine with that, because if you have a jockey that wins, say, 3 Group 1s, then he probably is the headline act, the primary winner across those, compared to someone who might win 4 or 5
listed races. Okay.
So I'm happy to discuss that if need be, but I don't understand, and I'd love to get told. I'd love to understand why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
Well, especially because there's a Group 2 to end the day. That's not counted.
Yeah, it's weird.
So there's 2, but they're not the other one. I don't get it.
So is that the last race that doesn't count?
Yeah, last weight race doesn't count.
See, how nice would it be to have?
It come down to the wire.
Yeah.
I know.
Mm.
You're preaching to the converted here, all right? You're singing the same hymn as me,
Okay.
all right?
What's next?
Let's get into the weekend previews. And I feel like last weekend we kind of skimmed over the group ones because we ran out of time with a couple of guests. But let's get in depth this week and try and really dissect what's going to be a marvellous day's racing, starting with the Queen Elizabeth. And I mean, last year we saw one of the greatest moments ever on a racetrack with Pride of Jenny winning by 7 lengths, but at a time leading by 30 the rest of the field. I'm not sure we're going to have that this year, but because she's not in the race.
I'm sure we won't have that.
But the quality of the field, a full field of 15, they're not scared off by Via Sistina, which is great news. I think she wins because I think she's going to hit that peak performance 4th up like she did in a Cox Plate in the spring. And, you know, the odds will tell you that. But, oh gosh, there is quality all throughout. Jubayana dropping back from the 24 to the 2000. Tom Kitten has been in the form of his life. Buckaroo, your man.
Yeah, it is D-Day.
It's
Saturday.
But it's not though. Like, he's only second up. He improves vastly second up.
And the run was awesome. I know that people are watching and go, well, he was hardly even sighted. If you watch him,
In isolation.
you'll sight him really clearly because he made a fantastic run, albeit afforded no opportunity. It was just a pipe opener. So now here we are in what's evidently a grand final. And have a look from an SP side of things where he rated last spring against some of the same horses.
Yes.
Like he was flogging some of them. He's shown on regular occasions that he's maybe a length off Via Sistina at worst. And if that is the case on Saturday, then luck comes into the equation. Who gets the better run in transit? The disparity in the price is just remarkable. He's the one at odds that I would consider. Jubayana, I concede should be second favourite, but I just couldn't see a world where I'd dive and just throw the house on Via Sistina. I completely appreciate what you're saying about 4th up, but when this could come back to bite me, I'll say it anyway.
The mental turmoil of...
You know when you know you're about to say something
Yeah, when you
that
go,
they
this
could...
is not going to be good.
Yeah, and I know exactly who's going to come back at me with it too. It rhymes with Rames Racknoddle. I'm going to say she will never hit the peak from the Cox Plate
It's going to
ever
be hard
again.
to do, yeah.
So it's fine to say she'll hit her peak this prep, but we won't ever see that Via again.
We might, though.
Oh.
What do
I
we
don't
do?
think we will.
So
She can not run to that peak and win.
Of course she can. Yeah, for sure. The speed map I find interesting, and I know this is a bit technical and boring in a way because we like to talk about
The stories.
but you got 3 horses here that do like to go forward. In full count, Felicia, let her just go. Let her go. Let her just run her
She'll do
race,
her own
right?
thing. Deny
knowledge if she jumps cleanly will also be there. And then our boy Lindemann, who we've had a very up and down relationship with
Mostly
this
down.
autumn, he'll also be right there on the speed too.
Yeah.
And so that sets up, I think, a pretty genuinely run Queen Elizabeth. There's not going to be the gap like we saw last year, but it does bring those horses back in the field right into play. Maybe not at the tail end, but midfield, 3/4 back, they've got to be given a chance because I think they're going to be mowing along at a decent tempo.
You know who'll be there? Buckaroo.
Yeah. Vauban and Chalwolf. Talk to me about where you see... I mean, interesting that they've decided to go to the Queen Elizabeth with Vauban because, quote, they want to keep the sprint in his legs. They also don't want to get a penalty for the Melbourne Cup this year. And that would have been the case
Mostly that.
if they ran in the Sydney Cup and he won. And then Chalwolf, topsy-turvy preparation. He had the setback. It hasn't been ideal. His run in the Neville Selwood was good on ground that he didn't really enjoy, but he's going to have to improve
Considerably.
4 to 5 lengths.
But see, he's another. I feel as though, in terms of pecking order, you've had a few of them bump into each other. So you have Via just ahead of Chalwolf and Buckaroo, what, a length behind.
Mm-hmm.
Is my read on ability-wise with even luck in running. So at his best, he's right in the finish. I just felt like that was a little below his best. I'd never question Joe. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if he came out and ran his preparation peak, but I needed to see more of that start price.
Tom Kitten on the quick backup.
Tom isn't as good as the others in the race.
All right.
Do you think he is?
He's
He's really good.
He's really good.
I don't think he's
and I
as
think
good
he's
as...
almost in career best form.
Okay, so, well, that may be true. But so if they run to their peak, in what order would you have?
Sustina wins.
Yeah. Dubai Honour's better than him.
Yeah. Okay.
Buckaroo's better than him,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right.
No? I think he's probably 5th or 6th in that order. So, yeah, he'll need to run to his best and hope that a few are a little bit below their best.
And the last
Never seen it.
one I want to touch on is Rosham Park, because the whispers and the Christophe Lemaire flying in and walking the track and getting the intel from Tom Marquand and figuring out how to ride this horse, which is back in the field. But I know he was absolutely delighted when he walked the course proper at Randwick on Tuesday. He went, oh, this turn into the straight is very large. It is very big, and that gives me lots of hope.
Yeah, well, you be the widest into that turn and see how close you finish, Christophe. Exciting to see Christophe here. A question mark element in a race, which I always like. I don't think you want to roll into a race like the Queen Elizabeth and have all your ducks in a row. So I like that part, but not for mine, as the great Gary Harley would say. Sydney Cup was?
I have fallen head over heels in love with Al Alcance. She's a winner. And I know there's a lot of chat about, but we don't know if she gets the 32. Trust me, she's going to get the 32. She's going to eat up the 32 and she's going to be rated out beautifully. And people go, it's not going to be so easy. I think she's a real star.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think
I have
she
full
wins?
faith in this girl.
Do you think she wins with the nature that she has in the past couple of starts? Because she's almost bullied them over those trips. Whereas it's so much more difficult. You've got to be exceptional to be bullying them over 3,200, whether it be a
You speak
Sydney
to
Cup or Melbourne Cup.
Adrian and Tim about what she does after the line. Like, they're hard fetch pulling her up. She wants to keep going through the line, just keep running, keep running, keep running. And yes, Sydney Cups are hard to line up because you've got horses who have had 3, 4, 5 starts for the preparation and they're looking to peak over the 3,200. And some of that form you'll read like is, 7th, 8th, 9th, 4th. It's, you're just watching them in run like gradually progress. But she has been dominant over what they would say were unsuitable trips. So say when she ran first up in the listed race of the 2,000, that's not her go. The same over the 24, the same over the 26. They think she's a true out and out 3,200 metre horse.
Well, I wouldn't question them. Would
And
you?
then
There are not many there that, I mean, the vast majority of the field she's bumped into in recent starts. A lot of them have progressed through the same races. Arapaho, it's hard to see them turning the tables. I did think Duke de Sessa's final 100 was good.
It was.
The other day. It kind of reeked of I want further. Beyond that, there weren't too many that were jumping off the page to me.
Your friend Zardozi?
I have been very forgiving of her. And, her run in the Melbourne Spring was fantastic. So maybe she's one that I should be forgiving. I don't think the trip's a drama with her. And she's probably paid the price for having that staying prep last time out. Like, if you go Oaks path and then a year later you're on a Melbourne Cup path and then suddenly you get to the autumn, like she's dour now.
Yeah,
so maybe there are excuses for below par runs in the build-up and this is very much her go.
I think it is. And I just look at the Bart Cummings way of getting a horse to peak for a Sydney or Melbourne Cup, and we're delving into those areas at the moment.
Have we seen 10,000? What is it?
10,000. I think on Saturday,
Do
and I
it,
know that's
count up.
not technical, I've done the maths, but I think
Right.
she hits the 10,000 on Saturday when
That
she finishes.
technically doesn't.
I know it doesn't.
Yeah.
But she's a 3,200 metre horse. Cleveland, a few whispers around for Cleveland.
No. There are always whispers for Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm happy to ignore
I
them.
think can probably, well, he was very good first up, but
Queen of the Turf we kind of touched on with Jace, so we could skip over that, I guess.
can we?
Is Fangirl the horse to beat?
I think so.
Yeah.
Once we get to, she can handle a soft 5. I don't think that's going to be a worry in the world. She needs the race to be run not at a brutal tempo. She needs it just right. She's a bit Goldilocks like that. And we know where she settles. She's one-dimensional, as they've said before. She gets back, she runs on, and she needs clear air to do it. She doesn't like ducking and weaving through the field. She swoops down the middle of the track. I love her. A Tissue's last ever race. She'll be sold at the Magic Millions Broodmare sale. The same with Lekvate.
Both been gems.
Our Gold Hope flashed home and was picked by Chow Wolf in the Neville Selwood. Dropping back to the Randwick Mile, I know that Team Price very happy to see her at Randwick over the mile. Is she a little...
She was fantastic.
Place play.
Place play. She was fantastic last time. Ali's her number one
I know.
flag bearer. It's tough to watch. You know, she actually jumped off last start. It would have been just poetic had our Gold Hope been able to win. I think Fangirl tough to beat. Lazura hasn't proven to be in that calibre yet, but this preparation, she's just returned a completely different beast. And she was devastatingly unlucky not to win last start. So she's probably the fly in the ointment, I think.
Yeah, to race her, for Chris to race her up against the older mares, I think is really interesting. They obviously think that she's a Group 1 performer in time. She's already a Group 2 winner. She's got the form, Lady Shenandoah and the like.
She's definitely a Group 1.
Yeah, I agree. In time,
Yeah.
she's a Group 1 performer. And then the final Group 1 on the card, of course, is the Oaks for the girls. And we've got the short-priced favourite here in Treasure the Moment, who we have been admiring for many, many a week. She's very short. Does she just win?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay. I
Well-
was expecting some kind of, but Belle Detel's on the quick backup, like really interesting placement from Chris Waller, like a Lucy the Ring-In coming in from New Zealand. She's got unbelievable form over there. She'll stay the trip. Verona Rose, Gary Portelli, Peaks in the Oaks. No, she just wins. Okay.
Can I tell you...
I'm just trying to create some buzz,
Well, I've created a bit of a rod for my own back, I think, with this horse, because we've been getting asked, and I've been doing the asking, in fairness, to a
Who's
lot of
the best
people.
three?
Yeah. And I keep saying her. And most actually are saying Autumn Glow. It seems to be Autumn Glow, Aliana, Lady Shenandoah, then her seems to be the sentiment.
Jeez, it's a group, isn't it?
But how's she fourth?
Yeah.
Anyway, I had her top, and the more people I ask, the more wrong I feel, because no one else has her top.
To be top, she'd have to smash this field.
Well, she's up against it, to say in a year's time, to sit back and say who has proven themselves to be the best. She's going to find it hard just being a staying filly. The other's going to have a lot more winnable group. Their resumes will probably outweigh hers.
Yeah.
You would imagine. I'm so excited to see the path. I know that Chris said that they're going to bump into each other on various occasions, but I'll be intrigued to see where. You get the impression Shenandoah could be their Everest horse. They've got to pick a Golden Eagle. They could have multiple in the Golden Eagle.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I think Autumn Glow, she's going to be a miler in time.
So she might be the Golden
She
Eagle
might be
horse.
that, but she hasn't got a Group 1 yet. So that's going to be number one priority for them in the spring. And the Arrowfield should probably be a Group 1. And by weights and measures, you speak to trainers about it and they all see it as a Group 1. Like if a colt like Enriched, say, wins the Arrowfield on the weekend, it's as good as a Group 1. Like
I
if
got
you
my
win the
head
Arrowfield.
bitten off yesterday for suggesting Enrich might win the Arrowfield.
Really?
He said it's a one horse race.
Well, she'll need the Group 1 in the spring. So whether I think Group 1 would come before a Golden Eagle for the Autumn Glow. And then Lady Shenandoah, maybe she is the Everest horse. And then, Aliana.
Well,
Cox Plate?
maybe. Cox Plate, Caulfield
Not Cups.
Cup.
We've heard that this week. Not a Cups path.
Not a Cups path.
Not a Cups path.
Okay. A plate path.
Maybe a plate.
Okay.
All right.
Either way, I wish that she was in the Oaks. It would have been half our show.
Did you see me pushing Chris?
Everyone was pushing Chris, and he refused to be pushed, which is very annoying. But there were
As is his lot in life.
There's no interest like self-interest, and I thought there were a lot of media personalities this week who maybe uncovered themselves as having speculated long-range
bets, future bets, right?
To her in the Oaks, just asking whether maybe she might. You never know. Go there. But from a story, from a headline, if we had Aliana versus Treasure the Moment, Aliana favourite. We could ask Tim that. He could hypothesise.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's bring in our chief trader here at Tab in Tim Ryan. On my run sheet, Tim, you are described as a dead man walking. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Technically sitting. So there's that.
I've still got a little bit of life in me yet. Whether or not I do have much life in me after Saturday, we'll wait and see. It's definitely going to be a roller coaster there on Saturday, and I'd be lying if I haven't had a couple of slightly sleepless nights leading into Saturday. I'm going to have to come up with a lay of the day on Saturday. We've got 4 odds-on chances there in the championship races. Autumn Glow, 145. Treasure of the Moment, $1.70. Via Sistina, 185. Fangirl, 195. And that's not to mention a well-backed LL Cants in the Sydney Cup, who's a $2.40 chance. So lots of shorties, lots of favourites. I can't remember a day where we've had so many shorties on like such a big day. Definitely not a championships day. And the multis are such a big part of our business at tab.com.au. It's just growing and growing and growing. Everyone loves a multi. And I'd expect at least through those 4 odds on chances, we'll hold upwards of $1 million worth of multis through each and every single one of those 4 runners. So how they all go leading into the next one will be a big determination on what price each one of them starts. Autumn Glow is the first one to kick off the card of the odds on chances. So if she's to win, most of that money, or a lot of that multi money, will flow into Treasure of the Moment, which will make her shorter. And if that's to win, that'll all mostly flow into Via Sistina, which will make her shorter. And if those first 3 win, I shudder to think how much we'll be standing Fangirl for.
Are you scared,
She jumps
Tim?
$1.20.
How scared are you?
I wouldn't. Everyone keeps telling me to be scared, so it's starting to maybe rub off a little bit. Maybe I'm starting to overthink it a little bit, but
Are they all losing results?
yeah, they're all losing results.
Right.
They're all losing results.
Because it's a misnomer that people think if favourites win, that Tab must lose.
But these are different types of
These are
favourites.
different types. These are like
because they're
commercial, popular.
Yeah. Autumn Glow is
jockey.
the stinkiest. That's the stinkiest result for Tab.
Yeah, at this stage, 150 to 145. But she probably won't be our worst result on Saturday, just for the fact that she's first. So in the straight out book, and she's the shortest as well. So I don't think she'll be our worst result, but she'll have a big determination on how bad the others are.
Right.
So, okay, $1.45 for her, and you've got $1.85 Via, and Treasure of the Moment. She's very short as well, and then Fangirl and the Queen of the Turf. Like, which one do you anticipate removing all of the multis in the way that you guys structure the book, but for Punter's Weight of Money Saturday, arriving at Royal Randwick or getting on the Tab app, which one do you expect will short the most with punter support?
I think it'll be Autumn Glow in the arrow field. I'm struggling to see what they're going to back to beat her. She's so popular. I think punters think that she's a little bit invincible. She's got that unbeaten record. And I've got an unbeaten record in making her the Tab lay of the day. I've actually made her the lay of the day at her last 3 starts.
You're an idiot.
No. Plenty of punters like to tell me that as well. So they like taking my money.
On that lay of the day thing, because it has been a great marketing coup, I think, for Tab. It essentially puts you up as enemy number 1. It says, punters, if you're keen to take him down, take him down.
Yeah. Right? They like to tell me about it when they love it.
And there are runs,
Don't talk about where they love it either. They like to heckle you here, there, and everywhere.
Well, where I feel for Tim, and you won't hear me say I feel for the Tab traders too often, but where I do feel for him is if he says this is Tab's lay of the day, I think this price will get out. $1.80, vulnerable, whatever it is, right? And they jump $2.50 and win. Everyone goes, "Oh, you're such a moron. The Tab lay of the day, it's won again, you idiot." And he's like, "Yeah, but that's how laying a horse works. The $1.80 was poison. It's jumped better than that." So it's sort of like the operation was a success, but we lost the patient.
Yeah, well, they had a good example of that just a week and a half ago with nepotism. We took it on that Tuesday meeting. It was the Anchorage Stakes Day that got moved. We took on nepotism. It was $2.80 in the morning. I marked it around about a $4 chance.
$5 later.
It got all the way out to $5. And when it was sitting there at $5, I'm like, well, we don't want to lay this. We actually dropped off and we were no longer top odds. So we were top odds all the way through, past $4. But then once it got past that, we actually dropped off and we were bottom of the market. Right. So it went from a stage where I wanted to make this my biggest lay of the day to I actually want to cuddle this horse. So it happens. But yeah, still punters cleaned up and...
So all of these get up on the weekend, and there's a few more that you can throw in, like LL Cants. You mentioned Tempted. In the last commemorative, I imagine she's going to get a lot of support as well. J-Mac, James Cummings, there's a lot to like about that.
Favourite of the day, plenty of punters.
Correct.
Get out.
So if all these favourites do win, how much trouble are you in? Like, how scared are you of the result? And what has been the worst ever result for you in Sydney here at your tenure at TAB?
Yeah, well, there's a day that's very famous at Tabcorp, the 2015 Epsom Day.
It was like the red wedding of Game of Thrones.
It was the red wedding. So
Yeah.
we lost on every single race. So in our betting system, we have green results and red results. So for the day, there were 9 races back then. We had 8 out of 9 favourites won on the day. The favourite, the horse that won that wasn't favourite was second favourite. It was a $3.60 chance with a $3.40 favourite. So it
Basically was a favourite.
It did actually trade favourite throughout the day. So 8 out of 9 faves. We lost on every single race on the day. Back then, John O'Shea was the head trainer for Godolphin. He trained 5 winners. James McDonald rode all 5. You can imagine how popular they were. Winks won the Epsom. She was
It's better.
albeit that was early days for her. It was only her second Group 1. She was still a little bit, punters liked her, but she didn't have the following that she did at that stage. So all the results cascaded. They got worse and worse and worse and worse. And the worst result of them all was the very last race, which was the Metropolitan Magic Hurricane. It got the chocolates around about $3 and it was just disastrous. Absolutely disastrous.
And can you sense the mood? Like when you roll in on Monday, is it just everyone with their head down
Yeah.
thinking,
Don't talk to me.
right, I think we've just lost Jeff. He's got the flick. Now, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but from a bonus structure, it is 50% personal performance and 50% company. So can you please not have a complete bloodbath?
Yeah.
Because it could impact me come the end of
Lucky
June.
you.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was big.
But are you, I mean, you can't preempt what's going to happen, but you look at those real 4 shorties odds on and then the other couple surrounding that, like they're rightfully in their place, aren't they?
They are. They're really
There's no false ones that you go, oh, you shouldn't be there.
So like last week, we had an odds-on chance with Swift Falcon. I was just really confident we could get it beat. I thought it should have been black odds. But this week, like Autumn Glow, she's unbeaten. Treasure of the Moment's been awesome. What's going to beat her? Maybe the Kiwi Oaks form. We laid a few bets for Like a Lucy this morning, which gave me a little bit of hope there. Via Sistina, we saw what she did in the Cox Plate. Can she get back to that level? Maybe that's the query. Maybe that's the query with her. Fangirl was so awesome in the rider, sitting wide on that slow pace on the day where you need to be close to the rail. And she's back to mare's grade. They're hard to pot. They're really hard to pot.
Funny you should ask the question about Via because Em asked me earlier and I could embarrass myself. Do you think there's any possibility we see her run to the Cox Plate peak again, ever in her career?
No chance at all. I think that was just the perfect storm, perfect preparation. She got that really, really fast-paced prognosis and Pride of Jenny just really putting it on. And she was just in the zone that day and she'll never get back to that.
That's not to say she can't miss her peak and win.
No, and she'll need to find a peak this preparation. I think she has to elevate. I don't think she's had the perfect preparation. She had that slowly run race. She beat Lindemann and Faulkner Park. They're not frontline chances there on Saturday. She's got to beat the international gallopers. There'll be a bit more pace on, I guess, with Deny Knowledge and Full Camp Felicia in the race, so that might help her. But is she battle-hardened? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I'm talking myself into Via might be the risk of the 4. I don't know.
I think you're right of those 4. I think she is the biggest risk.
Capacity field.
But guns everywhere you look. Like any race where you've got a Dubai Honour, an enigmatic, well, I've made a case for Buckaroo. I think there are other chances in the race, whereas a few of the others look a fait accompli.
They do look a bit thin. Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Should we send you a care package on Monday? Just preempt that and make sure that there's a bottle of wine for you or a bottle of scotch and...
We'll wait and see how it plays out. But a bottle of scotch wouldn't go astray.
All right, we can do that for you. Hey,
Just a quick shout out.
Yeah.
The job they do is remarkable.
I couldn't do it.
The futures markets have been up for many a moon.
Yeah.
I don't know how you go about doing it and putting a pecking order together and getting it as accurately as you do, because a lot of these horses that are going into the race favourite here were favourite when you first opened the markets up. So
Actually,
credit where it's due.
quickly, what were the top prices offered for those in futures markets? I mean, Autumn Glow, I don't know if you had a serious futures market for the Arrowfield, but for the Group 1s.
Yeah, for the Arrowfield, we bet all in off the nominations. We did bet $15 Autumn Glow. At that stage, she was going to the surround. So we didn't write many bets on her. Via Sistina, the Queen Elizabeth is a race that we bet on 365 days a year. So we put it up after the Queen Elizabeth last year, where she was around about evens against Pride of Jenny, and just got too far back. We actually put her up $6. That was her highest price. And then she's been around about $2.30 since the Cox Plate. So she's always been well up in the betting there, and so popular. She's over 80% of our futures hold. She was into as short as 170, but just thinking this race is a bit stronger, I went out to 190 final field on Tuesday, and she's that small firm, 190 to 185. But yeah, look, it's a big job. A lot goes into it. And we're hoping we get the results on Saturday, but I think the punters are hoping we don't.
Yeah. Good to have you on.
Yeah, good luck, mate. We'll let you just stick around because to close the show, we asked last week names that you can stuff up or that we find really difficult to say, because Ben at the midweeks asked Darren Beedman about a horse he thought was called Oh Hope. And it's Oh Hope. And Darren Beedman duly corrected him in the most humorous of ways on course at Warwick Farm that day.
As it turns out, it's a town in New Zealand or something like that. Before we go to this, I've got a topic for next week that I want nominations for, because I'm going to do a top 5 horses who just don't give a
flying.
And there are some clear ones, like Chautauqua, obviously, just point blank refusing. It's off the back of Egyptologist getting an 11th or 12th embargo with only having 6 career starts to date.
It's unbelievable.
I think that's near top of the tree of horses who don't give a flying. But I would love other nominations. Sosie Bond was one that people reached out to me and said Sosie Bond, the biter. But any reason you can see fit, a horse that didn't give a flying, please send them.
Okay, send them via social media channels. So we opened it up to viewers and listeners. Tricky names that people have struggled with over time. And friend of the show, Evie, has come up with this one.
In final corner, and now we're racing, heading for home. Inside, Minaino Hoshi, outside, Smart Elsa, and farther outside, Star of Bouquet. That's your 1, 2, and 3. Followed back behind by Rocket Man. Thanks, Grandpa, back there with Momomo. Now moving forward, Smart Elsa, Star of Bouquet, and here comes Momomo. Coming down to the wire, half a furlong left to go. Star of Bouquet, Momomo, coming across the line, Momomo in for the victory. Chocolat Noir.
I don't want to poke holes in that, but count this for me. Mo. It's too short.
It's 10, isn't it?
I think it's 11.
Oh,
Yeah.
That is ridiculous how that ever got through.
Yeah.
Racing Australia wouldn't allow that.
I would not want to be a trader, and I would not want to be a race caller.
Thank you for joining us as we roll through the carnival. Day 2 of the championship is going to be epic. Have a good day on the punt, and we'll see you next weekend.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.